So, in my day-to-day life, how often do I think about race? Growing up, I always saw people that looked like me, so I always saw a lot of brown people, black people. There's actually a lot less white people in my life growing up, like, as a young kid. Like, the experiences I had as a kid was just surrounded in culture, which for me, I'm so grateful for that because I feel like I was exposed to so many different, people and walks of life from a young age. Race has always been there when I think about myself, but then also religion as well because I'm Muslim and I wear hijab, and I think that sometimes throws people off and they don't believe me when I tell them I'm Indian. I've always gotten Middle Eastern, Egyptian, Moroccan.
I didn't think about my color. I only knew I was Turkish. And when I came here, people were like, you came from Turkey. Are you Middle Eastern? White? Are you European? What are you? Like, they were asking like this kind of questions. And we call ourselves Caucasian because we have a little bit of Europe in our nations. Like multiple questions about if you're Caucasian, why are you wearing a hijab? I remember that like one person was directly telling me this. If you're white, how can you be a Muslim? Every day I was trying to explain one person that I'm wearing hijab, but I'm Caucasian, and I have an accent, but I am Caucasian.
I grew up like in multiple countries in the Middle East. Traditionally in the Middle East, like you have like the expats. Usually a lot of like brown people, typically from countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, just typically the brown nations. A lot of them like do like labor work, and they come specifically to the Middle East to do labor work. Basic stereotype the Arabs would have at that point would be they see a brown person would be where like, oh, this person's either an expatriate, and like the reactions would change depending on what your accent was or how you were speaking. Also based on like, oh, if you seemed like you were an Arab, then the way that the man spoke to you was different. I had the privilege where my dad was not doing labor work, and he was pretty much in a very high position. I think that's the most important part of what I learned was that, okay, I'm brown, and I'm in a country where there are other brown people that are in different social standards. I realized that I can't lose my identity as a brown person because I can't lose the color of my skin. So it doesn't matter what country I'm going to, I'm still going to be the same. So I should stop trying instead of like just dissociating ourselves from our parents' culture because that's our culture. Maybe we should just like, yes, stop just doing that and maybe just like embrace it and be like, yeah, okay, I'm different. I'm gonna just stand and be myself.
Maybe I'm not like consciously thinking about it all the time, but like subconsciously I think I'm thinking about it all the time. Because especially of like the recent like social movements that are going on here, I've just started thinking about like, what are certain things that like people see me as because I am an Asian female. So like if I get pulled over by chance, like I will never be seen as a threat. And I know that, and I feel like it's sad that other people are seen as a threat because of the way they look, right? Bringing that identity into like different environments, like while I travel, has been really interesting. Here, like I live in Seattle where there's like a lot of Asian Americans, so like no one's ever gonna mistake me for like not being like American, right? But like when I go abroad, then people won't think of me as American. They'll see someone who looks Asian, so they like assume like Chinese or like whatever. Like they can't even tell like East Asians apart.
So I live in Baltimore City in Maryland. Maybe has like similar vibes to Chicago. Kind of like the redlining situation is very similar. So I went to majority Black schools for most of my life. Segregation in schools is like really prevalent. Like white people and then like kind of Asian people were always in like the upper classes with me. And so I have like more kind of white and Asian friends from home. And then like African American students were always like in B course or whatever we would call it. I feel like just like race was kind of like, I don't even know like when I started thinking about it. It was just like always something. Comparing our experiences, like I imagine mine was much more black and white and less like kind of different, kind of like international like cultures and ethnicities like were involved. That's what it felt like until I got to IIT, and then it was like much different because the kind of environment